Same place we used to play runouts is the same place his chest got dug out. Same place I was telling you play out is the same place I'm telling you come out.
Two men have been stabbed to death in two separate attacks in Kentish Town in North London last night.
Heard some really strong intelligence that there is going to be revenge for Calvin's killing, and his friends have literally said they are going to go out and kill any Somali in retaliation.
Both stabbed up in separate attacks, same area, Kentish Town, North London. First body got found late evening, young, probably in his late teens. Second one dropped hours later. Two scenes, one postcode. Camden's got a name, known for style, music, culture, big money houses, tourists flooding the high streets. On the surface, looks like the dream postcode, but that's just what they want you to see. Take one turn off the main road, step into the blocks, whole different world. Behind the glam, it's pain, poverty and postcode wars. You've got some of the most deprived estates in London sitting right next to millionaire cribs, literally one street apart. And out of that divide, a full-blown gang war has been born. But before we go deep, this is Ends Unshanked. Raw stories from the ends, no filter. Stay locked in, hit that like button, drop a comment and make sure you're subscribed. Alright, let's break this down. Rontair Camden sits in northwest London, not far from Central, but despite how close it is to the rich bits, it's been getting real mad over the past few years. Compared to places like Islington or Brent, Camden used to be quiet, not much street beef, but that all flipped around 2016. Some guy from Camden called Merce had his watch snatched. The man who took it came from another end in Camden. That one move sparked a chain reaction, back and forths, violations, then full out war. And just like that, Mandem, who grew up in the same borough, were now riding on each other. On one side, you had a few blocks link up. Peckwater Estate, Queen's Crescent, Cumberland Market, these youths formed a solid unit. Peckwater Gang, QC Gang, Combo, together they called themselves 51st, Postcode Flex, NW1 and NW5, 5 and 1, other side 71st, that's Active Gang, coming from Agar Grove Estate. They had links with CT1 and NRB. Them lot united and started claiming the 71st name heavy, so now it's on 51st versus 71st, and all of this started off one stolen watch, but Camden's more layered than that. See, Agar Grove's got a massive Somali population, deep roots, and most of the 71st Somali, big enough that nearly every member in 71st got Somali blood. Somali youths, not the ones to play with. This beef, it was up from early. In 2017, two members from Agar, that's 71st, rolled out on madness. 3 51st youths got caught lacking. Agar pulled up, let shots off, triple shooting, two of them tried to save themselves, ran hospital bleeding out, staff patched them up but called feds too. The second them man-clocked police were called, they didn't even care about getting treated no more. They tried to duck out, bullet wounds still inside them, but feds grabbed them up after a bit of a scrap. Turns out all three were already wanted. GBH charges, heavy, they got bagged, but 51st, they weren't going to take that on the chin. They needed revenge, so they stepped out, lurking round Agar Grove, looking for ops, found one, shot him in the face with a shotgun. Somehow man survived, made it to the hospital on his own. But this whole war, it didn't even start with 51st and 71st. The real madness kicked off at a party that had nothing to do with either side. It was February 2017. A 16-year-old girl threw an Airbnb party in Kensington, West London. One of them parties where she invites bare mandem from different postcodes and just hopes no one brings the beef inside. You know the type, leave the war at home kind of party, never works. People came from all corners of London, Hackney, Tottenham, Camden, but a few faces showed up uninvited. One of them, a youth from 51st, called Dotty, he came through with a brethren, both armed. One had a shank, the other had a tinder. They weren't there to vibe, they were looking for a problem, but the problem found them first. Dotty ended up getting chased down by 20 youths. They caught up to him, called out his name, then stabbed him 13 times. Man bled out, dead on the scene. 4 16-year-old boys from Hackney and Tottenham got sentenced for it. Naturally, 51st were fuming. One of their own just got dropped, so the mandem hopped in a stolen BMW and went on a ride out. First stop, Hackney, then Tottenham, trying to find the ones responsible for Dottie's death, but no one was out, no targets, no faces. Still, they weren't about to go home empty-handed, so they drove back to Camden looking for any 71st members. They spotted one, a guy known as AK, a known 71st affiliate. They moved to him, killed him, but they weren't finished. They stayed on the road for another 2 hours, hunting, and then they clocked someone else, Mitch's little brother. The kid tried to jump in a cab, was begging the driver to move, but the driver didn't budge. Man sat still, so 51st dragged him out the whip and stabbed him to death. Just like that, 2 murders in under 2 hours. Cold, calculated, 6 members got life for what went down that night. Fast forward, September 4th, 2017, one of the 51st youths, a man named Flips, bumps into Mitch, the older brother of the kid they just killed, right on Hampstead Road, Camden. They argue, it turns into something else. Flips pulled out a blade, stabbed Mitch in the arm, neck back, left the knife lodged in his bone. Mitch didn't survive. What Flips didn't know, there was an undercover Fed watching the whole thing. Man chased him down and arrested him on the spot. Flips is now doing 17 to life. After that, the beef slowed down, police stepped in hard, conspiracy charges, gun charges, drug busts, they were taking everyone. Things went quiet, but not for long. 2019 hit, and all them boys that had been locked up started coming home. But it wasn't peace they were on. See, before the feds swept in, 51st had already killed 3 71st members. So when 71st started stepping back onto road, they were moving mad. No talking, no warnings. It started with a message. One cold Tuesday in February, around 1 AM, a 51st member called G-Squeeze was walking near the Sainsbury's in Camden. A 4x4 pulled up, crashed straight into him. Man didn't even get time to clock what was happening. Several 71st youths jumped out the whip like wolves and they shanked him up, head, body, everywhere, left him paralysed, can't even walk no more. But that still wasn't enough for 71st. They weren't just trying to injure, they wanted a body. So on April 1st, 2019, a 51st affiliate called C. Miz and his cousin were walking through Grafton Road, Gospel Oak. 71st saw them and they made their move. 4-man jumped out a stolen black whip, all from 71st. They spotted C. Miz and his cousin walking. The two tried to split, but 71st locked eyes on C. Miz. They chased him down. Man dropped. That's when it started. Machetes flying. They didn't stop. Repeated stabs. No mercy. Then they ran off like nothing happened. That murder hit deep, but 71st took it one step further. They made a tune called Congo named after where C. Miz came from. Man was a refugee. Him and his family ran from war back in Congo. Now he was getting mocked in tracks by the same people who took his life. And it didn't stop there. They started saying they get their weed from Congo, not Cali. A blatant diss, code for we're smoking on C. Miz. And remember, most of 71st, Somalian. And after this, word started flying round Camden. 51st were on the hunt, and any Somali they saw, it was on sight. One girl from Camden, Somali herself, 24 years old, said straight up, they are going to go out and kill any Somali. That's how hot things got. People were scared, streets were tense, intelligence was flying everywhere. Was it extreme? Maybe, but tensions were real because 71st kept saying they were at war with the Jalis. That's the term some Somalis used for West Africans. Even though Somalis are dark-skinned African too, many don't really see themselves as the same, and that created a line in the sand. What started as gang beef now started to look like a race war between black people and Somali people. Right here in Camden, it was madness, wrong on every level, but 71st didn't care. One body wasn't enough, they wanted more. So on August 12, 2019, 6 men from 71st loaded up into a stolen Ford Fiesta and a stolen seat. They started spinning through estates linked to 51st, watching, waiting. That's when they saw a group, 16-year-old culprit and some other youths just leaving a restaurant near Euston Road around 10:30 PM. The 51st youths scattered, ran for their lives, hid in a block, but 71st weren't letting it slide. Later that night, they found culprit. 3 of them jumped out. Man ran, screaming for help, banging on doors, desperate to escape. but he didn't make it. 2 held him down. The third had a 1-foot zombie knife, drove it through his chest. It came out his back, and after they left him there to die, witnesses said the killers ran off laughing. Culprit was just a kid, a normal boy from Ends, talented footballer, had trials with Southampton. He had a future, but he drifted into street life, left the pitch for the pavement, and that pavement took his life. Now 51st. They weren't letting that one go. The streets got cold again. Retaliation started flying. Multiple stabbings across Camden. The beef was back in full swing. Then came September, and in the space of 5 days, 3 people got killed. One of them wasn't even part of it, just a guy from East London. He happened to be walking through Queen's Crescent Estate, a 51st hotspot. Wrong time, wrong place. He got hit in a drive-by. They thought he was 51st. He wasn't. Just an hour before that, a woman was stabbed just a few streets away. Then 4 days later, Knox, a known 71st member, got caught by 51st. Broad daylight, right outside Camden Tube Station. Machetes again. He didn't make it. And here's the craziest part. Most people had no idea this was going on until one man put it all on the mic. A 71st rapper called Suspect jumped on the drill scene, called himself the Camden Grim Reaper. He dropped some of the most disrespectful tracks ever made. Every line filled with death, pain and mockery of the dead. So much so that police started taking down every tune his gang released. That's when people started to take notice. Me too. One tune hit hard. It was called Dugout, and to this day, it might be the most disrespectful drill song I've ever heard. It forces you to stop and really look at how broken this whole thing is. In one of the lines he says,
same place we used to play runouts, is the same place his chest got dug out. Same place I was telling you play out, is the same place I'm telling you come out.
And you sit there thinking, these men were brethrens once, now they're stabbing each other in the street, all over a small beef that got out of hand years ago. But yeah, that's it for today's video. Peace out.